Patrick Howley of the Daily Caller in Washington, D.C., recently reported that in 2001, when Senator Jeanne Shaheen was governor of New Hampshire, she was out of the state and AWOL on the morning of 9/11. For a long time, the leadership in the Republican-led House had no idea where she was. Few people doubt that Shaheen's legal counsel, Judy Reardon, knew she had snuck out of the state and willingly withheld that information for several hours. The New Hampshire Constitution clearly states that when the governor is out of state, the Senate President, who is second in command, is constitutionally obligated to be in charge, and during the crisis of 9/11, the Senate President, Arthur Clem, did not even know where Shaheen was. Even worse, Shaheen, as governor, did not even bother to notify Senator Clem that she would be out of the state, and what was then presumed to be a political fundraising event in Washington, D.C. Shaheen's absence, coupled with cell phone troubles and a legal challenge to her authority by the head of the state's National Guard, created, quote, chaos at the State House in Concord. Shaheen said in a 2011 speech that she was in D.C. for a National Governors Association education meeting on September 11. The National Governors Association records do not show any winter or summer meetings for governors scheduled in September of 2001. In fact, if there was a meeting of governors in the nation's capital on 9/11, don't you think that that would have been a major narrative of 9/11 on CNN and Fox News? The fact is, Jeanne Shaheen had announced her exploratory committee for a 2002 Senate run less than 3 weeks before 9/11, and apparently quickly developed a habit of sneaking out of the state on company time to raise money for her next political ambition. That, my friends, is a clear dereliction of duty. So we have the terror attacks on 9/11 and a state government scrambling for orders. You have the National Guard, top law enforcement officials, and leadership in the Senate and the House looking for the governor, and where was she? Gone. Serving her own self-interest, vacuuming up all that dirty George Soros money. The senior State House staffer said that after the attack, we were all looking for her. It was reported that the state's Transportation Commissioner, Carol Murray, notified Shaheen that a plane had hit the World Trade Center, and a conference call was finally set up with the Senate President, Arthur Clem, the National Guard Major General John Blair, and Attorney General Philip McLaughlin. The staffer went on to say that the conference call created, quote, confusion. Shaheen, as Commander-in-Chief of the New Hampshire National Guard, made an order. The Adjutant General, Major General John Blair, questioned whether she had the authority because she was out of the state. Here is a little background on Major General Blair. He is a highly decorated Vietnam vet who was an evacuation pilot during the war, as well as an executive officer and a flight operations officer while in Nam. For his contributions to the war effort, he received the Purple Heart, Air Medal with 19 devices, Vietnam Campaign Medal with 4 Bronze Stars, and the Republic of Vietnam Medal of Honor. As Adjutant General of the New Hampshire National Guard, he oversaw a defense budget with a budget of $61 million. He is a well-respected man whose integrity was not questioned when he asked the question, does Governor Shaheen have the authority to give an order when she is out of state when the New Hampshire Constitution that everybody in government swears to uphold says otherwise? Major General Blair knew the answer to the question before he asked, but he got a very different answer from the Attorney General. Philip McLaughlin, the Attorney General, told the Adjutant General that she did have the authority. So, backing up before the conference call, we have a hectic morning on 9/11, and a staffer repeated the claim that it was understood that Arthur Clem was unaware that Shaheen was out of the state on the morning of the attack, and there were questions raised as to why she was out of the state, on official business or for fundraising. Again, the larger question is, why would the governor leave the state and not notify the second in command? The conference call left it unclear who was in control. It was unclear who was responsible to act as governor, the staffer said. The State House legislative staff was unaware that she was in Washington. There was a period of time where the cell phone service was up and down. We can all remember what cell phones were like back in 2001, as well as the reliability of cell phone towers. Cell phone circuits were jammed and air travel was banned. How did the limousine liberal Jeanne Shaheen plan to govern on an old Nokia cell phone back in the limo stuck in traffic for a 9-hour drive to Concord? Top state lawmakers remembered a constitutional crisis that day at the New Hampshire State House, and it wasn't clear that Governor Shaheen was in authority to make orders or sufficiently able to maintain control of the state when she was so far from home. The top brass in the House, Senate, and National Guard are well aware of the language in the New Hampshire Constitution that clearly states that, quote, in the event of death, resignation, removal from office, failure to qualify, physical or mental incapacity, absence from the state, or other incapacity of the governor, the president of the Senate, for the time being, shall act as governor until a vacancy is filled or the incapacity is removed, end quote. Arthur Clem was president of the Senate. Arthur was Republican and Shaheen is a Democrat, and apparently, Jeanne Shaheen was not about to cede command to a Republican, no matter what the Constitution said. After all, she had an ally in the Attorney General Philip McLaughlin, and this was her time to shine, not Arthur Clem's. The entire constitutional fiasco is reminiscent of a cozy relationship between Obama and Eric Holder, both of whom had made an art form out of trampling on the Constitution. Tom Eaton, who would eventually succeed Clem as Senate President, said, quote, I was in my third year in the Senate, and I would find out quite often that Shaheen was out of the state and never told Clem. She just did not want him to know. She didn't want anybody to know she had gone fundraising or things like that. I was on my way to Concord when I heard about the planes crashing, Eaton continued. I got to the State House, there was a lot of commotion, people not knowing where the governor was to find out what was going on, and he was getting stonewalled by her staff. There was a lot of stonewalling. Imagine that. The entire nation was bonding together, but Shaheen's staff, under the leadership of Judy Reardon, aka Rasputin, was doing the opposite. They were playing politics and giving a stiff arm to their political enemies. I remember Arthur being frustrated that he couldn't get to talk to her and him not knowing where she was. Sitting around watching the replays, Eaton said. Judy Reardon was her chief of staff, and she was putting them off basically. Arthur did not know that she was gone. It was chaos. Former State Senate Majority Leader Gary Francoeur said, I remember talking to the Senate President. There were problems. The Senate President told me that at the time that they couldn't get a hold of her. Others hadn't heard from her. It was a few hours before she surfaced with even a phone call or a call in. Imagine that, a few hours after an attack on American soil, for the governor to finally make a phone call to somebody other than Rasputin. That, my friends, is dereliction of duty. When governors leave the state, they always notify the Senate President, Francoeur said. The Shaheen administration's remark about that time was, well, we've got cell phones, so we don't need to do that anymore. As the Boston bombing showed, the cell phone service gets shut down in a crisis situation. Cell phones become less useful, especially back then. Former U.S. Senator Gordon Humphrey said that, quote, it was clear to everyone that she was planning to run for U.S. Senate in another 14 months, and no doubt was busy raising funds around the country, end quote. Dereliction of duty. It reminds me of another story recently that the Boston Herald ran. In part, it reads like this. Senator Jeanne Shaheen, who holds a coveted seat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, has skipped out on nearly half of the public hearings held by the committee over the last 2 years, including one very important meeting where counterterrorism officials warned of the emerging danger of the terror group ISIS. Key among the meetings that she skipped was one on April 11, 2013 that focused on ISIS and underscored, quote, the danger this group poses for Syria and the world. Additionally, records show Shaheen didn't show up for full committee hearings on counterterrorism policies, U.S. policy towards Iran, and a host of others involving security and foreign policy. Is Shaheen the person you want answering the 3 a.m. phone call when the you-know-what hits the fan? Seriously, the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And in addition, if Senator Jeanne Shaheen wins the election and serves out her term, she will be 72 years old. That is the selfish ambition of somebody who puts her own self-interest above the good people of New Hampshire. Jeanne Shaheen, aka the Ritalin Queen, well, that's a whole nother show in itself. Suffice to say that her policies as a nanny state senator turned the children of New Hampshire into the number one consumers of the drug Ritalin in America, and, just as disturbing, her other policies drove healthcare competition out of this state, and you can even ask Walt Haverstein about that. He had to deal with that when he was CEO of BAE. Is this the kind of my way or the highway judgment you would trust as your senior citizen senator? God forbid that Barack Obama decides to put up Eric Holder as a nominee to the Supreme Court. We already know Shaheen is a rubber stamp of President Obama. New Hampshire deserves somebody who will be thoroughly engaged in her job, not a backbencher who worries about her bedtime with a proven history of dereliction of duty. Our senior senator should be somebody with a vitality and pragmatism, not a George Soros puppet who supports open borders and skips out on important meetings on ISIS and skirts her duties while hiding for her constituents on 9/11.